Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host Raghunath and co-host and senior educator of the Bhakti Center, New York, Kastubidas. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Sunday. It's another Q&A day live at the Wisdom of the Sages retreat up here in East Chatham, New York. We're here with a full house of great souls. It's been actually a great weekend, and it's been a beautiful weekend weather-wise, but just really the company is just so outstanding, and just like meeting people. A lot of people have been on Zoom, so they're seeing people they just know their names on Zoom, but they've never seen them in three-dimensional form. Then there's some other mysterious others who have manifested here, who we've never met or even know about, and they just showed up. Welcome, you guys. And yeah, had a beautiful day. Went swimming in the pond yesterday.
We did.
Had some 15 chapter of the Bhagavad Gita yesterday.
We did.
Had lots of kirtan last night. Had
We
a
did.
dramatic reading by me, Mara, and Bunky as we read Sweet Baby Krishna last night. Ready for the next day.
Is that a tick right there? Let me know. Raghunath.
No, that's not a tick.
Okay, good.
All the New Yorkers are all... it's good. There's a snake. That's not a snake. It's not a tick. I think it's a snake. Everything's gonna be fine. Oh. Although me and Mara did see a pretty damn big snake yesterday.
Yeah.
On a japa walk. I didn't know what it was.
I think it was dead.
Yeah, I think it was dead. It looked like it was alive. Okay. I threw a stick at it. It didn't move. A little
Announcements.
Announcements, man. Hello, Mara.
We have Bhakti Recovery Group meetings at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time and 7 p.m. And are we back to a 7 a.m. show tomorrow? It's Monday.
No. 8 a.m. tomorrow, because we got a group of people here that we do our Dharma talk and our yoga. So we're going to do it at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Okay. And what do we got next? Italy's closing this week. If you're still thinking about going to Italy, I'm getting some last minute emails. Go to the website, wisdomofthesages.com/events. It's closing this week. So if you're interested, let's do this. Next year, me and Kastuba are taking a group. Next year in 2025, we have a wisdom training in India.
Yeah.
And we're about to open registration for that. Oh, the registration's open. What? wisdomofthesages.com/events for our India wisdom training. It's like 2 weeks or 12 days, I think, at the Govardhan Eco Village. Quite wonderful. And at the same time, we have our 300-hour and 200-hour this year also teacher training going on. Thinking about becoming a yoga teacher, training your life. What a great way to do it. January 2025. A bunch of you guys, I'm seeing the faces here, have done it. It's a wonderful, wonderful month. Radhanath Swami's there all month. Then we're doing a whole separate trip. We're going to Mayapur. This is our newest thing, Mayapur pilgrimage.
Yeah.
Mayapur is a really special place. Anyway, it's all on the website. Check it out. It's another day of live Q&A day. Who do we got first here?
I think we've got Nityananda Chandra coming in.
Nityananda Chandra. Come on down. We love Nityananda Chandra. He's one of these guys. He's dedicated. He's just like fixed, dedicated to bhakti. And in his dedication, there's just like a current that goes with you. Like when a boat goes really, what's that called? When a boat goes really quick, it leaves the whole wake. In where everyone who's near you gets wrapped up.
Start that over.
Let's. We never unmuted when it turned off. Mara, how can we exist?
the question again.
Okay. We can't exist without Mara. Okay.
Just start over. Of
Do we have to ask the question again?
course. We're back, everyone. Sorry, we've technical difficulties.
We apologize, Zoomers.
The question was, we see often two different models of, mostly we see the model of the desire isn't something inherent, that just like the light bulb has, it's a white light, and white light has all these different colors, the spectrum is there, but that when you put a blue paint over the bulb, then all of those are being held back, and just the only light's
You
only
get blue
being
light.
expressed is in blue. So it's a covering or a corruption of the original thing. And then the other model is where we see is desire something external, that the consciousness is reaching out, and desires are a functioning of the mind. The mind is this, like, we identify, as we say, those are not my thoughts. We are not our thoughts. So the consciousness reaches out and attaches itself to the desires that are flowing through the mind. So they see, one seems intrinsic, one seems
External to the self. Yeah. Okay. And so I think I understand the nature of, so the question essentially is, where does desire reside? Does it reside in the self, in the soul? Does it reside in the mind? Or it can even get further confused. And I think it has to do with just language more than there's a philosophical disagreement within bhakti or yoga circles on this. Only a sentient being can desire. And the mind itself is not a sentient being. The mind, according to Sankhya and according to Torah philosophy, is an insentient instrument. Very subtle, but still it's matter. It's composed of matter. But we do hear language. Maybe it's poetic or kind of conventional language that even in the Bhagavad Gita, right, in the 3rd chapter, it describes where kama. In Srila Prabhupada's translation, he uses the word lust, but kama can be translated as lust. It can be translated simply as desire. So desire, it's there. It says desire exists in the senses, in the mind, and in the intelligence, I think. So if you hear that, then it's, well, so my senses, and sometimes poetically we say, like, the eyes desire to see beautiful visions, and the ears desire to hear sweet sounds, but they don't desire anything. It's the self that desires. It's only the conscious self that has desire, but it's filtered through programming, just as the white light of a filament in a light bulb comes out blue. It's not the blue shell that's giving the light. It's the white filament within it, but it comes out blue. So you could say that the blue came from the bulb, not from the filament. But there is no light without the filament. It's the filament that actually has desire, and then it's transformed or warped as it comes through the mind. And so the mind has programming in it. That's attractive, right? No, that, we even just like we see, like, say you're a child, when your mind is really most malleable, when it's really, it's taking in through the senses so much information, and it's being shaped. So we're being told happiness lies here, misery lies there. This is attractive. This is unattractive. This is cool. This is not cool. And so that all gets shaped. And then our natural desire, as it filters through that, takes on that shape. So poetically, we could say that the desire resides in the mind, but factually, it's only the self that can desire.
I love this concept we have in our philosophy is that pure soul fiat philosophy. It's almost given us a treasure map. That, like all we have to do is understand that there is like this hunk of gold that's within us, and it just gets covered over.
Mhm.
It's not like the hunk of gold is ever gone. It's always there. And we can hear descriptions of what it is, but there's just different filters. Or ever go to a hotel where they have those blackout curtains? You just close the curtain, everything's black. Imagine some bright light covered out with hundreds of layers of blackout curtains. That's what's going out with the soul. And to the degree that we become more and more God conscious, more and more spiritually conscious, chant the name purely, it's like lifting one of those. And sometimes you meet a person on the street, they are a bright light. They're a bright light. They have almost like less coverings on them.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to, and it could be coming from a previous life. We can't understand, why is this person's not even into spirituality. They're just sort of a brighter person. But it's because they're carrying some of these from a previous life into this world. And according to their activities in this life, they're going to get more covered, right? Because we get covered or we get filtered by the people we associate with. That's why a good parent is always saying, who are those kids you're hanging out with? They're always checking in with the kid, who they're hanging out with, what they're doing, what party are you going to, who's going to be at the party. Because there's some inherent idea that the company we keep influences us. And so in devotional service, we try to get high grade influence in our life. We search it out, not to make us spiritual. We already are spiritual. It's to uncover those layers and uncover those filters to get to that gold that's already there. That was an add-on. I think Kostuba answered your question. Yeah. Thank you, Nityananda Chandra.
Thank you, Nityananda Chandra. Thank you, Robin.
Got a question? A mystery
Rachel.
question? Okay, it's a mystery question. Come on, Dan. Mystery question. Usually we vet these questions first, but it's okay. All right, so you just showed up this morning.
I did.
What's your name?
Stu.
Stu. Where are you from?
We're from Westchester.
Oh, really? What part of Westchester? Okay. You know where that is?
Other
It's
than the kind-
nearby, just south of Greenwich on the.
Okay.
Okay.
Welcome, Stu.
Welcome,
Thank
Stu.
you very much. Thanks for taking my question.
Cool. And how do you listen to the podcast? I mean, how did you find out about the podcast?
I found out the
Right
podcast
into the microphone.
from, I've been into sort of hardcore forever through Shelter to podcast by a common path.
Okay.
All right.
That's a common path, hardcore. Who would think hundreds of years ago? Imagine a
These-
mystic would land. In the future, there'll be a noisy, unmusical music. Where instead of singing, they will scream. And the performances will include punching each other and jumping and throwing oneself from the stage. But they will be the disseminators of this great, mysterious information. And all the disciples are like, are you sure, Guru?
Are you sure this was a vision? Perhaps it was a nightmare.
Are you okay, Guru Maharaj? Anyway, Stu, welcome to the show.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Why don't we
so-
slide in a little tighter?
Yeah.
Stu, if
Tighter.
possible? Spiller.
Just spill that.
Oh,
Okay.
you're a spiller.
So you have a little mic cord and you're shy. So get closer. And you got to put your mouth right on this mic or it doesn't pick up.
Okay. All right. Now we're set up. Okay. So my question is in the, the Bhagavad Gita, right? We have this idea that we do our duty and we take action, but Bhagavan gives the result of the action. So this enables us to accept whatever comes to us as prasad from Bhagavan and gracefully accept our circumstances.
Sound like you're answering questions up
However,
there.
Can I ask you a question?
This guy's got it. He's got it all figured out.
we also have the concept of free will, right?
Yes.
Which is, people have some degree of free will that's sort of acting outside of Bhagavan's, kind of presence. So now you can imagine a situation. I decide to walk down a dark alley at night. I get mugged. So in that case, I took the karma of walking to the alley. Do I take as prasad getting mugged, or do I say, wait a minute, that's an abuse of that person's free will? That's not prasad that's not Bhagavan isn't causing me to get mugged there. It's that person, the mugger's abuse of free will that is the problem. And that's sort of outside of this concept of karma yoga where you take the prasad from Bhagavan. I don't know. Is that right? Or
That's a great question.
how do you-
Great question. Great question. It was the mystery question. We didn't know Stu. He showed up this morning. We didn't know what was going to come out of his mouth.
But from this day, he will be known as Stu the philosopher.
Let's do the philosopher's house. Okay. You want to dive on that?
Wanna start
first?
with that?
was good.
Yeah, so let's try to condense that question down. And if I understand correctly, what you're asking is, can everything be seen as Krishna's grace, or are there pockets of free will where Krishna's grace doesn't penetrate? These are these are areas wherein that grace doesn't flow, where we've kind of gotten in the way. Does that sum it up? Okay. Okay. It's both in one sense. The grace flows everywhere. We had a question the other weekend or so that was similar to this. Like, where does the darkness in the world come from? If Krishna is all loving and merciful, then how are all these dark areas? And we said it's kind of when when the shadow of our own selfishness gets in the way of Krishna's light on the world, that these dark areas show up. So it's not that Krishna's creating the darkness, but it's where we turn it away from Krishna, where we get between Krishna and the world, that the darkness. But even the darkness serves a purpose. And so the idea is that our free will could be, we could kind of simplify our free will down to a very simple formula. We have two choices. One, to take shelter of Krishna, or two, to take shelter of this world. Essentially, that's what it comes down to. When we choose to take shelter of Krishna, everything becomes everything in our life is directly his personal, he's directly personally involved in. When we choose to take shelter of his external energy, this world, then we're kind of put into an automated system of karma, where our actions bring about automated reactions. And those are the actions that you're discussing right there, where even something seems to be just a manifestation of free will. Think of it this way. In one sense, let's talk about government in a theoretical sense. Theoretically, the government cares for all of the citizens.
Theoretically.
Yeah. And let's say that you had a personal relationship with, like, the president, or even, like, to even make a tighter analogy, let's say with a king, right? So if you have a direct relationship with the king and you say, you know what, I just want to satisfy you. The nature of our relationship is everything to me. That king can be directly involved in whatever's going on in your life. But should you turn away from the king, then you would enter into the realm of the king's law. And you would, like every other citizen, you would just be kind of operating, in one sense, outside of the king's direct awareness. But actually, that the law has been set up by the king also as a manifestation of his caring. So there's a penal system within that law and so on, that's protecting all the citizens, that's reforming citizens when necessary, out of love as well, out of a genuine desire. So it's kind of a question of, are we directly under the Daivi Shakti, the Krishna's spiritual direct shelter, or are we under the shelter of his automated system of karma? And the automated system of karma is also his grace. It's just not his direct grace. Does that help? Does that satisfy?
Can I, because clarifying things. So
Yeah.
using your king in the court example,
Yeah.
let's say I'm surrendering to the king, but someone else in the court uses their free will and kind of wrongs me. Attitudinally, do I say, well, this is also kind of a challenge coming from the king to help me spiritually grow? Or do I say, wait a minute, that's just, that person's just abusing their free will and their, like, what's the attitude? Kind of
once we're, I think that just kind of circumvented the construct that I had put up. Yeah, but I get it though. But in other words, the fact that this person that's come and wronged you in some way, there's two possibilities of what's happening. One, and actually there's a third. There's kind of an in-between. And this is an interesting thing. Once Srila Prabhupada just shared this, I don't know if I could find a scriptural reference for it, but he explained it this way. He said that once we give ourselves to Krishna, once we say, I want to take shelter of you, he says it's kind of like pulling the plug on the fan of karma. Like when you pull a plug, the fan is still running and air is still coming from it, but the generating power behind it has been disconnected and it's winding down. So he said that the karma that we receive as a devotee can be a kind of a winding down, weaker and decreasing form of karma. So that's kind of one way to look at it. In other words, it may be that I've decided to take shelter of Krishna. Someone's wronged me. That could be like a remnant of karma still playing out in my life. But for the devotee, we see it all as Krishna's grace. We interpret it all as Krishna, because even the law of karma is set up by his grace. So if someone's done me wrong, I can feel like I'm so unfortunate that I'm still operating under Krishna's law of karma. I haven't transcended. I haven't entered into a realm of non-suffering. Or we can say, whatever it is, it's Krishna's grace. You know, it's an opportunity for me. It's not something that slipped out of his realm and he has no control over it. The question is he directly involved or is he indirectly involved? Both are his grace.
Can I jump in? Krishna says in the Gita, for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost to him, nor is he lost to me. So it's really up to our vision of how we're seeing what's happening.
Yeah.
Hey, I was doing everything right. I was following the king. This guy came over and whacked me in the head with a baseball bat. That's unfair. You know, this stupid guy's free will. Actually, and I've experienced this firsthand. My first time to India when I got very, very sick, and great devotees came up, put their arms on my shoulder and said, you're really getting the mercy. And I was like,
could it stop, please?
Like, how dare you say I'm getting the mercy? But actually, that's how the great souls see everything. They just change their vantage point. It's not like this is good and this is bad. This is wonderful and this is horrible. The great soul just changes their vision and they say, this is Krishna's mercy. Hey, guess what? You got a raise. You're getting a raise and we're going to Hawaii. That's Krishna's mercy. And guess what? You know, your car was totaled. Your teenager wrecked it. And he's okay, but the car's a mess. And the insurance lapsed. You're not getting renewed. And you owe for that car that was just destroyed. It's Krishna's mercy. It's the training of our vision to see, how can I evolve here? How can I evolve? How can I take what the universe has given me or what my karma has given me and use my free will to evolve from the situation instead of diving into the glue trap of bitterness and resentment. And that's sort of what separates the bhakta from the materialist, is I'm not going to sit there in the glue trap of resentment and bitterness. I'm going to see this as all Krishna's divine hand. And when you look at it like that, and when you wear those goggles, everything is used for your evolution. It's such a great way to live, isn't it? Thank you, Stu.
Thank you, Stu.
Welcome to Super Soul Farm.
Stu the philosopher, everyone.
Pretty amazing, huh? That idea that 500 years ago of sitting around in the future, hardcore will be disseminated. There will be a type of music that's not music.
Kali Yuga will manifest in all kinds of unusual.
In Kali Yuga, those who are not musically talented will be considered great musicians.
People will pay money to see them.
Will fling their bodies from the stage. Guru Maharaj, what do you mean by flinging their bodies?
From the stage.
You will never understand.
Intentionally?
Intentionally flinging them, I mean, throwing them off? That too.
But the music seems like it's full of resentment and anger.
Yes, it's like. And are these very beautiful people on stage?
No.
Not at all.
Is there grace and harmony within the dancing?
No.
It's more violent war. Okay.
All right, that was a fun little squirrel. Thank you, Stu. How about Jen Hunt?
Oh,
Jen Hunt, come on down. She's really done it all, Jen Hunt.
Has she?
She's a scientist. What else you got going?
Gotta give her the mic,
Scientist.
Ragana.
A yogi, an aspiring harmoniumist.
Harmoniumist?
Even word.
It's okay. We're just making up words here today.
Done it all. I don't know,
She,
giving
she-
it a spot.
she's a great mother, wife, world travel, been to Nepal and
India,
India
couple
with
of
the-
times,
yeah.
you know, around. So
Yeah.
yeah, just hanging around.
hanging around,
Hanging
coming super soul, loves kirtan.
I do.
And she's a bright light herself. And we are, thanks, Prabhu.
Okay.
What's your question today?
I'm referring to my notes, all right? And I'm not gonna go into all of the details. It's probably not relevant, and I don't want to reveal the situation, right?
Okay.
Oh, come on, tell us.
Yeah.
Tell
But,
everybody.
but she has a friend.
I do.
Friend that's supposed to be going to prison soon. Okay.
This is about an unhealthy behavior, or
Okay.
unhealthy behavior that I see somebody that I love and I care about engaging in unhealthy behaviors. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff around that I'm not going to go into. But I kind of, I'm trying to be supportive because there's a whole other situation, but I found myself becoming, resentful, judgmental, critical when I'm witnessing this behavior, right? And because I'm trying to be supportive, I don't say anything, but it's kind of, welling up in me. So I go to my 6 pillars of bhakti. What are my tools here? And, I will not criticize. I am tolerant. And I really kind of have been focusing on the tolerance thing, right? But, there's this weird kind of tolerance, resentment, and then it kind of occurred to me, at what point am I enabling this behavior because I'm not saying anything about it in my
Do you have a
efforts to be
responsibility
supportive,
to
right?
act?
Yeah. And, I've got to throw in there too that I suffer from like conflict avoidance a lot of the time, so sometimes it's easier for me not to say anything than to, kind of risk, stirring the pot. So
Yeah.
that's my question is when does that become enablement? And, I need some help.
A good question. Sometimes there's people I just prefer not to get caught up in their karma if they're going through something. And then there's people who are sort of very close to me that I feel like it's important for me not to be Mr. Empathy, where you're just listening and they've got a whole horrible scheme that I'm supposed to just like nod and be tolerant to. But oftentimes I don't want to sign off on your nonsense to whatever they're going through. I don't want to like say, okay, you're doing good. Sometimes a good friend will say, you know what? No. And have to put your dad. Just because we're tolerant and just because we don't want to criticize doesn't mean we shouldn't have discernment. And a good friend will share, listen, I don't know if you're asking for my opinion, because sometimes they're not. But you could say, oh, I don't agree with this. But it's part of tolerance, taking no offense, not criticizing all that stuff. We still discern. We just don't accept everything. And sometimes we have to step in and we have to say, if you're asking me, I don't know if you want my unsolicited advice. And if they say yes, what you're doing is wrong. What you're doing is going to harm you in the big picture. I care. First, I like to express, I actually care about you. I want you to know that. But I don't think this behavior is good behavior. And then you got to think, how much are they in your life? Are they adults? And how much am I meddling in other people's affairs? Sometimes people have to crash and burn to learn a lesson. And I can't save everybody. At the same time, again, you don't want to just sign off on their nonsense. And it's okay to not be complicit with what they say. A friend doesn't always just say, yeah, okay, yeah. A friend will just say, no. don't just let them commiserate. That's not friendship after a while. Yeah, you are. That is great. You're good. That's a good idea. No, I think that's a really wrong idea. That's a really wrong idea. I can still support you and love you and just say that's a bad idea. How would you jump into this?
You know, I'm not a person, like I don't have any kind of degree or experience or something like in relationship counseling. Like it's not my field.
Neither do I.
Just say that.
Matter of fact, I'm really unqualified in most things.
Are you sure you're asking the right people here?
Why are they asking us these questions? We're dropouts.
But that being said, you know, within the realm of Bhakti Yoga, there's an etiquette in terms of relationships. So like that's my field in a sense, you know, that's so I can approach it from that angle and you can see if you feel it might be to your situation. And, you know, so part of the etiquette amongst yogis or amongst Bhakti yogis is we try to keep criticism, like we focus criticism, especially on the self rather than on others. There's a role of a guru, and it's a guru's when a relationship becomes defined as teacher and student, then it becomes the teacher's responsibility to correct. And that's accepted within, you know, kind of both participants have gone into the relationship with that understanding. One person's come forward and say, I want your correction. Please give me your correction. And then the teacher has the freedom to correct. But what if it's someone what if we're not their guru, what if we're not their teacher, but out of a sincere concern in the heart, we see that this person is creating problems for themselves or problems for others, and there seems to need to be some correction. Then how do I go about that? And then it'll say the care is taken in that circumstance, right? It's approached with, it's not approached casually. Hey, you know what? You know, it's not like that. It's like, let me be thoughtful about how best to approach this. And then within the etiquette, the Bhakti Yoga etiquette, it's then you would identify as this person. These kind of hierarchies are Western minds kind of, particularly in the most modern current age, we struggle with these kind of hierarchies. But is this person my superior? Are they my equal? Or are they my inferior? In a sense, they ask this: is this person senior to me? There are different ways we would measure that. You know, one is age. If they're older than me, I'm really careful about correcting someone that's my senior. If they're my peer and they're my friend, then there's a greater freedom for approaching. If they're someone that's junior to me, then ideally they're a little bit more open to hearing it, and I'm a little bit more able to share it. So there'd be some, but in either case, there's going to be some care. One might say, let me reach out to the person that they do hear instruction from. Let me find that person where you're saying, well, they don't accept the instruction from anyone. But that would be an approach, like, you know, from in a Bhakti Yoga realm. Let me find that person that they might hear this best from. Or and maybe that's not exactly available or something. Then and perhaps this suits your circumstance more aptly. But then you might want to approach, assuming that the person doesn't really have that kind of person in their life. Then I think what Raghunath was saying, that if someone's not asking for your input, then you might want to seek the permission, you know, and that might be done directly or it might even be done kind of subtly. But you might come saying, you know, I really care about you, and if I share some advice with you, would that be okay with you? I don't want to correct you. I don't want to, but I just care. And like maybe some of that kind of talk would help set the get you both situated right.
We're gonna need some details here. I want names.
But also, and even that may feel awkward. It might affect the relationship. It might change. You might just want to see, are there subtle ways that I could communicate this? Maybe there's some subtle way that I can be. Raghunath and I talk a lot about sometimes when we have senior people in our lives that rather than directly correct us, they just kind of start to ignore us when we start to bring, you bring up something that's just kind of like this. And then we started to get them as, oh,
I've had senior devotees in my life that were doing something wrong, but I wouldn't correct them. But I would go to another senior devotee who they respect and just share, hey, this is going on. You may want to say something to them. Just because it's just the way bhakti flows. There's like an etiquette and how
the way
bhakti
knowledge
down.
flows in general
Yeah.
too, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, is that helpful?
It is helpful. I mean, it is. And, I've kind of been mulling this around for a while because of the resentment that I'm carrying.
Yeah.
It's not healthy for me or other people around as well, right? So I need to resolve it somehow. So it is very thank you. Thank you. Very helpful. Thank you. Probably was.
Yeah.
grateful
Thank
for
you,
your
Jen.
service. Really am. Love you guys.
Love you.
Love you.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think they're very close to us and they're in our lives. We sometimes have to get involved, and a lot of times it's like we also got to mind our own business.
No, some good tools. But,
Right.
I'll let you know how it turns out.
Okay. Thank you.
Who else is on the list here today for Q&A?
Krishna Mai.
Krishna Mai from the other side of the river.
Hello.
Krishna Mai, how are you? Good to see you. She's a regular on the podcast, a regular
Lean on in. Lean
in
on
our
in.
community. You got to come real close. We got a little screen. You could see yourself. And she's a nurse. She's a mom. She's a wife.
Good
She's a
devotee.
nice devotee. Everyone loves her. And she's a good kirtan singer too.
Yeah.
What's up with you? How's life going?
Good.
You gotta get them.
Challenging. A few challenges.
What? Life is challenging? You're doing something so terribly wrong. Hey, I was talking earlier to someone and they're saying, I'm going through this. Guess what? You're all going to go through it. That's what happens when you get a material body. You're going to go through it and then it's going to go away. Then it's going to come back worse.
Things are
Then it's
going
gonna-
good, then
it's the change
they're
of
about to go
seasons.
bad.
Yeah, if things are going good, get ready. They're going to get bad soon.
Things are going bad, and then they'll get good.
It's the change of seasons. So, how are you?
I'm good.
But that's bad.
So as a bhakta, we live as I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm something divine. So
Yeah.
when you have physical ailments or chronic pain, how do you pull yourself back to that? And like I'll be
Oh.
focused in my mind, but then here comes the pain, and
Mm.
then it comes to the mind, and instead of feeling divine, I feel broken, and then it's like that circle. It's so how do I stay in that I'm not the body and try to quiet my mind to really focus on really what we're here for and what
In other words, when there's chronic pain, it's even if we know we're not the body, the mind is still prone to be to wallow and dwell in that, like for
I'm like
a large
that.
percentage of the day, even potentially.
I'll just start by saying for everyone who's not experiencing chronic pain, is actually very healthy, they've got maybe some time on their hands.
Chronic pain is around the corner.
I don't mean to say that. I mean, now is the time. There's no urgency. But it'd be very smart to get very serious about our spiritual life because
Mhm.
chronic pain or some type of pain is
It's
around
real.
the corner. And to the degree when we're healthy, we can get really focused and really locked in and really connected. That's going to follow us to those winter seasons of life as well. You want to share something about that, Christine?
My thought was, I don't experience chronic pain. But I know people that do. And it's I suppose I could say I feel for them, but honestly, I feel like I don't quite know what they're going through, right?
Yeah.
sometimes I get like when we were in Mayapur, I got sick for 5 days and I was just so frustrated with it.
Yeah.
I was just like, come on, body, get better and let's move on, you know?
And I was like, I feel for you, but I didn't. I couldn't. I couldn't.
Then you got sick.
Then I got sick.
No,
and I was like,
you actually got sick before me. It was probably the other way around. But all that being said, there's something that is sinking into my awareness deeper as the years pass. I think Raghunath's on that path with me. We read so much in our Bhagavad Gita. Open it up. It's going to say that this is a world of suffering. Any Buddhist literature, it's just all about, right? What are the noble truths? It's like we suffer, and suffering is really bad, and you're going to suffer more and more. And you know, it's like wise, thoughtful people look at this world and they understand that suffering is perhaps the most important feature of the realm that we're moving through. And so then the question becomes it's not so much about escaping suffering. Yes, we'll take whatever steps we can to alleviate the suffering, our own suffering, alleviate the suffering of others, especially we like to do, but always within the context of understanding what is the purpose of the suffering. And so those are the goggles that we always need to be seeing through. So in one sense, a person with chronic suffering is perhaps the most fortunate, because here's the thing. It's like we're in a cage and the door's open. We're a little bird in there. And we have the ability to fly out anytime we want. But we're somehow become convinced that there is enjoyment. Even though this cage is kind of miserable, there are some nice aspects of being in this cage, right? There's like just enough bird food in that cage to keep. Now, what we don't realize is there's so much bird food outside that cage. It's like ridiculous. It makes the bird food in the cage just seem totally paltry and insignificant. But we're thinking the bird food in the cage is worth not going through what it takes to get out of the cage. We need to become convinced that it's not good to be in the cage. We need to understand that this world, this is for the yogis thinking, right? That this world is showing us, it's promising us enjoyment, it's promising us happiness, and ultimately it's not true. Real happiness is not the happiness of this world. The happiness of this world is this flickering thing that comes and goes. This is not our home. So the world is going to move in ways to help us understand that, and suffering and pain is the one and someone that's feeling chronic pain. Yeah, I suppose one way that a person responds to is to just become more and more bitter and resentful. But for the devotee, we have the knowledge, we have the key. If we have that key, then chronic pain, this is not a prayer, dear Lord, that I'm praying for, but chronic pain is potentially like the greatest blessing, because it's really making it difficult for you to feel this body and this world is my home. No, this body is a place of suffering. So I suppose what I'm saying is use it, turn it into your advantage rather than let it harden you in any way. Let it break your faith in this material world as being my home, my place of happiness. Let it break it. Let it break it completely. Allow it to thank Krishna for it and say, thank you for making it so abundantly clear that I need to get serious about stepping out of the cage.
Yeah, the very tough times are the catapults. For example, Kostuba and myself know people who grew up in communist Russia. We know devotees from Iran where it's fully against the law, and you will be imprisoned and you will be shot. You'll just disappear for practicing bhakti in Iran or in
Other places.
other places around the world. And they're the most Krishna conscious people. They're not praying for peace. They're praying to be God conscious. And sometimes in that God consciousness, an external situation is painful. But for a devotee, this goes back to our first question, there is no bad karma. for a person practicing bhakti. They are just ways to accelerate your pure devotional service. So when you look at it like that, you're practicing bhakti, you're sincere. Are you talking about yourself in chronic pain? Yeah, so you don't have bad karma any longer. You're off of that field. Now everything is an acceleration for pure devotional service. And when you look at it that way, what a way to frame so-called trials in this world. Let it be that. Don't let it be getting steeped in bitterness. Let it being an accelerator, a trampoline to fly you higher in your spiritual life. There is no bad karma for devotees.
This,
Yeah, I am blessed. because-
for Raghunath and I, this is easy for us to say. Answer. But for you to say it is.
Now, bring on breakfast.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you
really
very
appreciate
much.
that. I'm so grateful.
Oh.
I don't say it enough, so please forgive
Great
me.
soul. Great
Thank
soul.
you. You know, as much as me and Kostuba are saying this, and we come off like we're sitting on this throne, and this is wisdom the sages. He's sage number one, I'm sage number two. We are not the sages. This is the sages from the past trickling down through the Bhagavatam. We're reading it to everybody. And when I say it to you guys, I'm saying it to myself. I'm not saying because I'm above it, I'm over it. I'm a work in progress. I'm a double-dented can. I'm a hot mess express. So this is what I do on a regular basis to ground me, to give me something to hold on to. It's important for me to hear on a regular basis because my mind naturally goes right back magnetically to Maya, to illusion, to bad choices. And it's only by hearing truth on a regular basis that we can change our thinking process. How's our time?
We got
55.
we do a quick one.
Who's got a quick question? Come on down, Justine. Justine, the pizza maker. You want a good pizza in Vermont? You find Justine. What's the name of your pizza restaurant?
Pan's Pizza, like Peter Pan.
Oh.
That's my father's name.
Your father's name is Pan?
Yeah, it's a Greek
Wait,
name.
Peter. His name is Pan.
Pan. Yeah, his
Okay.
name is Pan. It's a Greek, traditional Greek name.
Okay.
Okay. And so
And a mythological figure. Does he play like the little instrument? or something?
Panagiote was his Greek name.
Okay.
So yeah, when you get baptized in the Greek Orthodox Church, sometimes you get a different name.
Oh.
it's like what we do.
Yeah.
You know?
Nice.
And did you know a lot about Bhakti before you came to this retreat? You just sort of like, you know Kishori Gopi. And
Were you listening to the podcast? No, I don't know anything
No.
about you weirdos.
Do you know? Are you at the right
Are
retreat?
you okay?
Wait a second.
I saw Kishori's face and
Red light.
I thought this person has something to teach me. And when she had a program, she's like trying to explain, oh, this is where I'm like, it could be basket weaving. I'll do whatever. You're here to teach whatever you're going to teach. I want to hear it. And she had bhakti to teach. And
Wow.
and then I found you, I started listening back. I'm still in 2020 because I'm one of those people.
So
where
you are
I'm like,
listening now. You have been
I'm
listening.
listening.
Okay. I would wonder if you came to the retreat just completely not
yeah,
knowing
and then
anything.
I went to the website and there happened to be this event and I'm only 3.5 hours away. And I was like, all right,
Yes.
I'm going.
All right. It's been
That's
great
a
having you
That's a
here.
great story. Hey, do you live on an island?
My business is on an island and I grew up in South Euro. Yeah, it's an island in Lake Champlain.
Wow. Very, but it's part of Vermont.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Lake Champlain is on the border of Vermont and New York. It's like a boundary.
You're
And
prob-
Canada.
You're probably the only pizza maker out there. Is that what's the population out there?
Not a lot. We get really busy in the summer.
Okay. Oh, people visit, you get tourists.
Yeah, and people think, I just want to put this out there because, people think pizza is unhealthy, but pizza is really just a sandwich. It's just bread, cheese, and toppings. And if you're worried about, you can get vegan cheese on it. You don't even have to have, you could just be nice bread.
You don't have to sell us on pizza.
You're preaching to the choir over here.
Oh, you go eat a big pizza. I'm like, well,
Italy retreat. Last chance to sign up.
We're going to Italy in a couple weeks. Want to come? Okay, so Justine,
We don't have any more time left.
but now we're starving. Every time I see Justine, her face turns into a giant pizza. I'm like, it's like those Tom and Jerry. Okay, anyway, so
Mhm.
what's your cartoon? What's your
Like,
question?
my question is, I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita and like interpretation, and they talk a lot about offering. And
Oh, yeah.
although I have gotten instruction on how to offer food, like there's like really good instructions around that. There's a general sense of offering the fruits of labor and the fruits of my life
Yes.
to Krishna. And I try to just say it in my mind, but is there a way, like a prayer or something, that when money comes to me or any, that's just one example.
You
but-
just give it to me. You make it really easy for you.
A simple formula.
Just kidding. Totally serious.
But just a way through the day when gifts come to me that I can offer it back. Is that just a thought that I have or a prayer that comes, or is it just the sincerity or the intention?
This is a wonderful question.
It's the big question. I can say one thing.
Okay.
Whenever you make wealth, it's good to give some wealth in charity. It purifies wealth. Some people make some wealth in some very dirty ways too. And it's nice to purify as much as possible. At the same time, there's other things like when you're eating food, you can have a little picture of Krishna. And before you eat it, you sort of recognize, like, I didn't create this. This is all coming from God. And you can say a prayer. There's official prayers, but you can really, it's a heartfelt prayer of love that you're offering the food back to God before you eat it. Even if I pick up a thing of potato chips, and it's not like I baked these for Krishna, I'll just think of Lord Vishnu before I eat those potato chips,
Just think of it.
you know? And,
Why not offer them?
and that's the type of offering, huh?
Why don't you offer them?
I do.
Oh, okay. You just said I think of Lord
I think
Vishnu.
of Lord Vishnu and I offer them to him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just think, thanks, Vishnu. You would have loved these.
Well, that's what like you were
You
saying.
would have loved these if you were here right
really
now. These
Love
are,
Lord Vishnu.
these are like the barbecue flavor Vishnu. I think it's your favorite. But yeah, it's nice to think of our entire life as an offering. It's nice to think of our conversations we have with friends. Are these going to degrade our friends, or are they going to lift up our friends? And so the more we get into that consciousness, our conversation, our recreation, our meals, the way we treat our friends, the way we treat ourselves, the way we treat people who don't like us. This is all a type of offering. We're offering everything, our speech, our thoughts, our actions, our work. And there is a way to do that. And the more you get into this, the more you start to learn that becomes part of your life. Do you want to say anything
And
else?
You touched on something. This is a very profound question, actually. It's really great. There's in Bhakti Yoga, the goal is that the mind is entirely absorbed with love in connection with God. And through that, one feels that love for every living being. That's the goal. That's what we're aiming for. That's it. Any rule, any regulation, any mantra, whatever we're doing in the practice is to bring us to that stage of consciousness. But in all the different scriptures, the different Vedic scriptures, they're not, a lot of people aren't really fully ready to understand that message and focus their life on, as that is the goal, as the exclusive goal. The serious bhakti yogi, they had that focus in their mind as their exclusive goal. Every other goal in their life is seen in the context of that goal, is kind of dovetailed into that goal. Now, there's these ancient texts, the Vedas, the 4 Vedas, and they're for people that aren't quite ready to understand all of that. And they talk a lot about sacrifice. They give all kinds of instructions about elaborate ritual to perform sacrifice. The idea is that if you walk around this world with a different conception, thinking that this world is really meant for my enjoyment, you're really going to suffer and you're really not evolving. So rather, with some gratitude, recognize that these gifts are coming from another realm, another level, other people actually perform sacrifice as a demonstration of your gratitude. And we see that in culture, like what is Thanksgiving? If I understand Thanksgiving right, it's like it's the harvest time. And so look at all these gifts we've received. We should offer some thanks, right? And so in the Vedic paradigm, that was laid out as perform some sort of sacrifice. And along with that, the ritual, there's acts of charity become very important, right? People, and the promise would be there, if you're charitable, you'll get more in the future, right? Like that's the karmic idea. In the Bhagavad Gita, it's speaking on a higher level. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is asking Arjuna to start thinking beyond that level of the four Vedas and come to the level of bhakti. So the idea here is that what the Vedas were saying was like within you, there's this devotion and this love and this selflessness. It's just starting to churn that a little bit by doing sacrifice to the gods or the goddesses out of gratitude. It's just trying to jumpstart that a little bit, get you used to having some gratitude and sacrificing something selflessly, or at least somewhat selflessly. But really, we want to get you focused on the real goal. And that means that your entire life is sacrifice, that every word, that every action, that every thought is an offering to God.
Every stromboli.
Yeah. that is
calzone that you make is an offering.
You're wrapping that thing up, you're sliding it off that thing into the oven. This is for you. Yeah. But that's the beautiful, pure consciousness that we're aiming for. It means that it all has to be, everything's offered, even every thought. But you're asking, if I understand correctly, like in a practical way, what's the best way for me to practice that, to aim for that, to go for that? And it's when you bring the question down to that level of detail, is when like the guru or like the guide comes into play. Like, let's help you understand different models of how you might best do that. Right, because you're a person in this circumstance with these attachments and this psychology and these external responsibilities. Let's lay out a plan for you where your whole life does become sacrifice, but you do it in a way that is practical and is going to keep you moving forward rather than burn you out. Let's push it to the limit and just go just a little bit beyond the comfort zone, and let's get you sacrificing, as much as possible. I'm going to sacrifice 2 hours a day to sit and meditate. I'm going to sacrifice this amount of my income. I'm going to and then you come up with a plan of how you might best do that. And then they're checking in with you, like, how's that going? Is it going, I'm feeling good. And are you able to afford how much you're giving? Is it creating any kind of strain on your family that's, counterproductive? No, as a matter of fact, I could give more. Okay, well then give more, So like that, you work out the details. But I think the fact that you're focused on the principle is just really great. You're there, and yeah.
It's a question that opens more doors for more questions.
Yeah.
And more answers. Thanks. Let us know how we can serve you.
Great question, Justin.
Thanks for everybody for joining us. Great Q&A day today. Thanks to everybody here live. Very fun to do this live. It's really great to meet everybody and hear their stories, hear their pizza parlor stories. And
And remember, pizza is healthy.
That's our takeaway today. Pizza can be healthy. Also, tomorrow's show's at 7 a.m. 8 a.m. still. 8 a.m. Sorry, but we got a crew here. And then we're in for the rest of the week. Looking forward to it. Thanks everybody for joining us. If you like what we're doing, share it with people that you love. Also, go to Apple Podcasts, give us a review. If you get a copy of my book, Bunk to Monk, now's the time to get it. Go to Amazon.com, order Bunk to Monk by Ray Capo. If you did order it, leave a link. Thanks, everybody. Beautiful day for a beautiful day. Oh, all the stars are out tonight. We got Timothy Tucker. We got Drummond, Moshpit Drummond. We got Jen Hunt. We got Scott Moss. We got Linda. We got Alex the Bombay Girl. everybody. Let the magic continue to flow. Hadi bo.